Leinster would stand a kind of comeback to keep the 100% record intact. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. So a couple of early scrum penalties allowed Leinster to kick to the corner, and it felt like it kind of had that feeling of Leinster kind of on top of the start, and maybe Connacht were going to fold, but Buckley is offside, and it was just as Leinster were setting up the maul, so they opt for the 5 metre scrum for the penalty. Connacht, though, defended it well as Leinster were moving it. Bundyaki actually gets in on Snyman, prevents the offload, and then wins the penalty for holding on. And you could see, just from that period of defence, like Connacht were really up for this, and Leinster weren't going to have everything their own way. Connacht, they were very aggressive at the breakdown and not really letting Leinster settle the way they wanted to. But then we have a lovely pass from Barrett that releases Tector out wide. He has Gus McCarthy in support, but then Jennings puts in a great tackle to kill the move. And it was, I think, McCarthy just kind of offloaded. One of those ones where he just threw it rather than being dumped into touch, and then the ball bounces into touch. But then we have a bit of a team-out check, and Leinster get a penalty for a high tackle for Ioane on McCarthy just before that Jennings hit. Leinster then go up the line. They set up the maul. They get within a few meters, but then Beelum gets pinged for lifting Soroka's leg, after an advantage breaks down. So back to the corner. But then Snyman knocks on in the line-out, and Leinster's line-out woes just continued in this one. And, it wasn't just them getting things wrong either. Like, I thought the Connacht's line-out was very impressive. And generally, I have to say, like, Connacht's line-out is one of the best in Ireland, especially the defensive line-out. They're really good at getting up there and disrupting. We saw that a lot in this game. Leinster then, they come again, breaking through on the left, but Jennings gets in, strips the ball, and then Connacht win a penalty 5 meters out just after that. And, I thought Jennings had a fantastic game for Connacht in this one. Leinster then laying siege to Connacht 22. Connacht being very brave in defence, but you feel like they've got to get out and kind of relieve some of the pressure, because otherwise we see it so often in rugby, a team defending so well, but if they're just defending all the time, then eventually points are going to come for the opposition. And that's what happens. Leinster strike off a line out, set up the maul, but immediately they spread it. Barrett runs a nice dummy line, and Byrne goes out the back to Andrew Osborne, who was coming like a steam train. He slices through to score. Ross Byrne then converts for 7 points to 0. Leinster then lose Conan to injury. He's replaced by Deegan, who later has to go off himself as well. So the tale for the Irish provinces in terms of injuries isn't getting any better. Jennings then goes to the bin as he kind of body checked McGrath. McGrath kind of sniped out wide on the left, chips the ball over him, and then you can see on the replay that initially it looked like maybe Jennings has just stood his ground. We can see in the replay that it actually moves into his path, and then kind of dips his shoulder in as well to make sure he catches him. So I think that was fair enough on that one. Leinster then go up the line into the 22, set up a maul. They spread it. Barrett with a nice pass then to Charlie Tector, who goes between Aki and Ford and over the score, and the conversion makes it 14 points to 0. Two really well worked tries by Leinster, but we weren't really seeing enough of that from them, honestly, in the game. Connacht then have a period of possession, and they get a bit of go forward as well. The likes of Boyle, Aki, and Buckley all carrying well, but eventually Soroka turns it over into 22. Still, more encouraging signs from Connacht there. But then just after that, they lose Ioane, who was pulling the strings during that period as well. Ford moves into 10 from there. Leinster then lose Deegan to an HIA, doesn't come back, and thought at the time he's not going to come back. He looked really groggy when he was trying to get back up. He looked like he didn't know where he was. Baird then is on for him. Connacht, picking Leinster off in the line out. Josh Murphy and Niall Murray to the fore. I don't know why he pronounces his name that way, but what can you do about it? That then kills Leinster's momentum, and they see out the rest of that yellow card period. And I thought, Connacht, other than obviously they conceded a try, but for the bulk of the yellow card period, I thought they did really well. They then have another period of possession, almost create a break between Cordero and Hansen on the right, but Tector covers across well, and a few phases later, then Soroka gets over the ball for a penalty. And I have to say about Soroka, it's good to see him playing, because he's had 2 seasons with just terrible injury problems, and he looks so good. You go back a few seasons ago, he went on that tour. I think he was on the same tour that it was either Frawley or Prendergast was playing at 10. But he was down there in that one where Leinster did fairly well. I think they won one and lost one. But he looked really good on that tour, and then you're kind of looking out for him the next season to see is he going to progress. The usual kind of thing you see when they have a talent like that, getting a few more games in the URC, and then maybe working his way onto the bench for Champions Cup stuff. But it didn't happen for him because of the injuries. It feels like he's lost 2 seasons, but there's no doubt in the potential that guy has. Like, he can be something special, and even though it's very competitive in the back row there at Leinster, like you look at the players that are playing today, like Scott Penny, Deegan as well there, and then Baird that was coming on, and then you had Conan who was on at the start as well. Like, there's plenty of talent running around the back row at Leinster, but yes, Soroka feels like one who could maybe break into I'm not sure about the top tier, because you have to see him a bit more, obviously, but he certainly has that ability to break into the regular URC side on a more regular basis. So we'll have to see how he goes from here. But half time then is 14 points to 0 to Leinster. They look like they're kind of cruising it, and they start the second half brightly too. Soroka carrying well, couple of good carries from him. Boyle ping for offside. Ross Burns strokes the penalty over for 17 points to 0. Yeah, and at this stage, the way, if you look at Leinster from a couple of seasons ago, last season a bit up and down, but even last season probably you're thinking, okay, well now it's just a matter of time before they get their bonus point. Maybe get another try. Before kind of 55 minutes, and then go for the bonus point try after that. But that's not what happened. Connacht come forward, and a few half breaks. Leinster's scramble defence still doing really well, not allowing them to kind of get in behind. Penny though off feet, so they go to the corner. Lineout though goes awry, and Penny kind of makes amends by claiming the loose ball, and then O'Brien kicks clear. But Leinster not able to really lift the pressure at this stage. They concede a penalty for not releasing. Connacht go up the line into the 22 to have another penalty advantage when we have around the handbags between Sneeman and Josh Murphy. Connacht then go to the corner, maul it within a couple of meters, and they have the backs come in there trying to help them as well, but it goes to ground, and it's turned over. Leinster then with a number of infringements around the line out and in the red zone as well. They get a warning from the referee, and then Connacht go to the corner after Baird pinged for playing the man the line out, and that it was when he did that the referee actually gave him the warning. Then Lee Barron he goes to the bin because he's offside just after that line out. So they got the warning. It's fair enough. What can you do in that position? Like if you infringe straight after the referee has told you, like you're on a yellow card warning, well, you're obviously going to the bin. Connacht then tapped the penalty. Heffernan with a good carry. Ainger gets close and Oisin Dowling grounds it for Connacht's first score of the game, and they deserved it. Like they were on top during that period. Then from here, I think they missed the conversion, right? So it was 17 points to 5 at that stage. Then Connacht work it wide to Hansen. He puts in a kick over the top. There's a bit of a scramble to get back there to the ball, but actually hits the flag and goes dead. But you can see again, Connacht are spotting that space in behind Leinster and are pulling them out, and they're finding space that just wasn't there in the first half. They come again, nice hands, create a break for Aki on the left. Then they move it to the right. They've got numbers, and Jennings has a stroll over to score under the post. Really well worked try. And again, just the identification of the space and actually being able to exploit it. And unlike in the first half where they were kind of making half breaks or breaks, the support is there as well. They're not kind of losing momentum because the guy goes to ground and then Leinster are competing for the ball. They were able to recycle quickly, get offloads as well, move that ball across the face of the Leinster defence, and Leinster weren't able to drift, and therefore they had those numbers over. And Jennings just goes over on in the corner, but is able to come all the way around and in behind the post to make it an easy kick, converted for 17 points to 12. Then we have a seatbelt tackle by Ainger, and that allows Ross Byrne to go up the line into 22. Leinster looking to re-establish a bit of a cushion for themselves. Jameson gives a park, then has a dart off the maul and goes close, but Osborne then gets pinged for a neck roll. We then have a scrum penalty to Leinster. That allows them to go up the line into the 22 again. Gibson Park and Jimmy O'Brien combine well, and they set Barron away. But then Keane Prendergast, an amazing try save from him. He manages to kind of get under Barron and kind of flip him turtle and then prevent him from grounding the ball as well. Just brilliant defence there and a real try saver from him. And again, just a commitment from the Connacht players to not just let Leinster kind of get back, that cushion back and stroll away with the game. They could see that there was a scalp there to take, and they were doing everything they could to give themselves a chance for it. Now Connacht come forward, Mac Hansen looking dangerous, and the game is to and fro, momentum swinging between the teams. Sneeman then steals a Connacht line out on the edge of his own 22, and Leinster able to clear. Jimmy O'Brien then goes to the bin for hitting Hansen in the air. And just wondering now, is there a little bit of panic in the Leinster ranks at this stage? Connacht coming again, they're finding space. Barrett though puts in a great hit and drives the player back. Connacht do recycle, but the momentum is gone and they knock on shortly after that. Leinster then from that scrum, Gibson Park starts off a break and they surge from their own 22 into the Connacht 22. Barrett and Tector combining well. Connacht then concede a penalty, and then Ross Byrne uses up most of the shot clock before slotting the winning kick for 20 points to 12. And then just after that, then we do restart, but Leinster get it off the pitch for the win. So not the bonus point win that they probably thought they were going to have at half time. They'll be happy basically to get out of the Aviva with a win because Connacht were so good in that second half. We're going to have a look at some of the stats now before we talk briefly about each of the teams as well. So first off, in terms of tries, 2 tries each. Again, kind of look at odds on at half time with Leinster 2 tries already in the bag, that they were potentially going to get the 4, but Connacht just absolutely denied them any real chances to add to those first half scores. Possession then 47% to 53. So Connacht having more possession, which is amazing because there was a period in the first half where Leinster were like 80% possession, 80% territory, and that was around the time when they were putting that pressure on Connacht. Connacht doing really well to hold them out, and then eventually conceding the tries. So it was for a decent amount of the game, maybe the first 25-30 minutes of the game. Like Leinster had the huge bulk of the ball. So for Connacht to turn that around, especially in that second half, just again shows their determination, their grit, their spirit as a team as well, and it's something great to see. Clean breaks then 4 for Leinster and 6 for Connacht, and again Connacht getting most of those in the second half, where they looked the more dangerous of the two sides. Defenders beaten then 19-25. Connacht coming at the top of that, and then offloads 5 for Leinster, 6 for Connacht. And one of the noticeable things as well was that Snyman at times is looking for the offloads. Normally we see him getting a ton of them, but either the offload was kind of to a player who was standing still, or Connacht were able to prevent it. And one of the examples of that is Bundy Aki, where he managed to prevent them offloading and then win a penalty for holding on as well. Onto defence then, territory 49% to 51. Again, Connacht just edging that, but it doesn't really tell the whole story because Leinster had the bulk of territory in the first half, and then Connacht had the bulk of it in the second half. Number of tackles then 101 for Leinster and 82 for Connacht. It's not that often that Leinster have to make more tackles than their opposition. Missed tackles then 25-19, 76% to 78. So both teams kind of down on their where they'd like to be. Normally you'd like to be somewhere in the kind of mid 80s as a decent percentage really for tackle success in the URC, but I thought both teams did scramble well when they needed to as well. Turnovers 1 then, 7 for Leinster and 6 for Connacht. Kicks retained, 3 for Leinster, 1 for Connacht. And then penalties conceded, both teams getting on the wrong side of the referee at times. 14 for Leinster, 13 for Connacht. So neither team will be happy with their discipline in this one. And both teams will be looking to probably half their penalty count really from this game. Excuse me. Okay, then let's have a look at some individual players. So first off, successful carries. Diarmuid Mangan with 4 successful carries for Leinster. I thought he did well. He's in there with beside RG Snyman, so obviously he's been overshadowed by Snyman actually starting for Leinster for once. But I thought he had a decent game. Paul Boyle was excellent for Connacht. He had 5 successful carries, so he was kind of top throughout the game. Clean breaks then, 2 for Charlie Tector. Another guy kind of like Soroka, who's been kind of there or thereabouts in terms of, you've heard his name, you've seen how good he can be in patches without really kind of establishing themselves in the first team or even in the first team for the URC. So really happy with how he went tonight. Then Mac Hansen for Connacht, 3 clean breaks for him. It's good to see him back, hitting a bit of form as well and looking lively, looking dangerous, because I felt through the autumn internationals he looked a little bit, stale and personally I would have liked to see Nash, or somebody else getting a go there on the right wing, because Hansen wasn't giving us that much. So it's nice to see him back, kind of looking like he's going to get tries or set up tries. He's got the kind of that aura about him now again, and it's great to see. Defenders beaten then, Andrew Osborne with 3, and then Mac Hansen again, really elusive, 7 defenders beaten for him. Meters made, Andrew Osborne with 34 and Mac Hansen with 31. And then offload, Snyman did get 3, but again, as I was saying, a lot of the offloads were to kind of static players. There was one basically where, like, I guess it was an offload where he just kind of handed it to, who was it again? I can't remember, but he just handed it to someone and they were standing still, like, and it wasn't really, it kind of defeated the purpose of it being an offload, like. And then Cordero with two offloads for Connacht. One thing to say about the Connacht backs as well, they all kind of look dangerous, but something I noticed was you might have the likes of Hansen, Cordero, and maybe like Piers O'Connor or Ford or someone all around kind of the same area. But what would happen is that maybe Hansen would carry into contact, and then you'd have those other guys coming in to do the clearing out, rather than, what you really want to see is Hansen being able to kind of bend the line and then give the ball to one of those guys, and then they've got options with the others that are there as well, and to continue on. It's good to see the backs getting in there and doing the work and making sure that it's clean ball, etc. But it meant at times where where maybe there was space that one of those backs could exploit, it was going to a forward who was kind of looking for contact instead. But overall, you can see that Connacht beginning to get their shapes a bit better. Onto defence then. Number of tackles, Gus McCarthy with 11 for Leinster and Keane Prendergast with 12, including that absolute try saver on Barron in the second half. Turnovers one for Ross Byrne. He'll be happy with that. And Seamus Hurley-Langton with 1 for Connacht as well. Another guy who had a really good game. Okay, so let's just briefly talk about the two teams. So Leinster, as I said, looked like they were strolling at half time, but had to dig in deep, really, dig deep for that win in the second half. Scrum went well, line out again poor. That's got to be fixed at some stage. You can't keep going game to game, and especially, they're going to be going back into Europe, going to be going to La Rochelle as well. They've got to fix it by then. Defense kept them in, just ahead really in the second half. A little blunt in attack at times, but for those couple of occasions where they showed their cutting edge for the tries. Still not totally convinced this season, or convincing this season, but some of the wider squad doing well, the likes of Tector, Soroka, and Barron standing out today. Feels like, they're on the cusp of something, but whether it's an early exit, in the knockout stage of Europe, or finally breaking that trophy drought, I couldn't tell you at this stage. Connacht, were on the back foot for much of the first half. Still, disrupted Leinster well at the breakdown and at the line out. Defended well too, to make sure that Leinster didn't get easy scores. Grew into the game in the second half. Boyle, Hurley-Langton, Josh Murphy, all impressive. Prendergast as well. Mac Hansen, we mentioned. Lots of players looking lively, and Hansen again, as I said, looking really sharp. And it was good that he went searching for work as well. He didn't just kind of stay on his wing. He kept popping up on the other wing as well, and in midfield. It's a defeat, but it's one to take, I think, a lot of positives from. And but I think they're going to be looking for more when they Ulster travel over to Galway next week. They're going to be looking for a result rather than the performance out of that one. Okay, so that's the end of this one. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments.